I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 15 reflects the level and depth of her integrity, her character, the way in which she lived that had such an impact on so many lives. Mizmor David, Adonai mi yagur bo alecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha, folech tamim ufol tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo. O God, who deserves to enter your sanctuary? Who merits a place in your presence? One who lives with integrity, does what is right, and she speaks the truth inside and out, has no slander upon her tongue, and does nothing hurtful to others. In her eyes, a vile person may be despised, but she honors those who celebrate life and revere God in that way. She'll make a promise, even to her own detriment, and she'll never use material things to take advantage of another. Whoever does deeds such as these and lives in such a way shall stand firm forever. From Psalm 34, L'chuvanim shimuli rak Adonai alametchem. Come, folks, to listen carefully, says the psalm, and learn what it means to be in awe of God. It is addressing questions such as these. Who is eager for life? Who desires years of good fortune? One who guards their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. One who turns from bad in order to do good. One who seeks shalom, peace, and indeed makes it a passionate pursuit. From Connections with Job, Talmid Chacham mi mevi lanu tmurato. There's no replacing a person of wisdom. There are mines for silver and places where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth and copper is smelted from the rock. But where can wisdom be found? And where is the source of understanding? There's no replacing a person of wisdom. Among her many passions was for the people that she joined in the land of Israel. She was so focused on wanting to make sure that everything there was protected and well. This is my prayer to you, my God. Let not my spirit wither and shrivel in its thirst for you. And let it not lose the dew with which you sprinkled it when I was young. May my heart be open to every broken soul, to orphaned life, to every stumbler wandering unknown and groping in the shadow. Bless my eyes. Purify me to see humanity's beauty rise in the world and the glory of my people in its redeemed land, spreading its fragrance over all the earth. Deepen and broaden my senses to absorb a fresh green flowering world, to take from it the secret of blossoming in silence. Grant strength to yield fine fruits, quintessence of my life, steeped in my very being, without expectation of reward. And when my time comes, let me slip into the night, demanding nothing, O God, nothing of humanity or of you. In the oral law of Judaism, the ethics of our sages in particular, a simple question is asked and answered. Ezehu mehubad hamechabed et habriyot. Who is honored? One who honors, loves, and cares for other human beings. Adds Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, the deepest wisdom a person can attain is to know that their destiny is to aid. It is to serve. Also from the oral law of Judaism, the Talmud, Shabbat, we're told that the tears that are shed at the passing of an Adam Kasher means a kosher person, but it's not about food. I think you're familiar with the idea of somebody saying, that's not kosher. Something not right. Those are the tears shed at the passing of an Adam Kasher. They're so precious to God that God counts each of those tears and stores them in a divine treasure house. The sages asked the question, well, what do we mean by an Adam Kasher? And why aren't tears for an Adam Chashuv, an important person? Why doesn't God count them as so precious? Or an Adam Gadol, they ask, or a great person. Why aren't those tears as precious to God as the tears for an Adam Kasher? They answer, when kasher is applied to a person, it reflects integrity, it reflects goodness, a life lived in the spirit of Judaism, and that includes a life of involvement with family, service to community, and through that, and in so many ways like that, reverence for God. We're going to hear now from some folks, yourself, and okay. Anybody else you want?
I'll leave it up to them.
Okay. All right, Steve.
I wrote this down. I didn't know how much I could talk from the heart. There's just so much emotion there. Rabbi, thank you. Joe Talkin, who organized this today, thank you, sir, so much for all your hard work and the extra time you put in. Hospice people, thank you so very, very much. All our caregivers, thank you. Thank you so very much. There's so many people in the hospitals and registration people. That just meant so much to my mom. Thank you for being there for her. So let me tell you a little bit about my mom. She's from the Richmond Annex. She was born to Henry and Cecilia Breland. She spent most of her youth in the Richmond Annex area. They decided eventually to move to Vallejo. My grandfather was in the Navy and the Merchant Marines, so they thought being closer to Mare Island would be easier to commute back and forth. My mom was the oldest of 3 children, Pamela Breland and James Breland. They lived in a very Catholic Italian family. The 5 girls came from Italy, and that sort of dominated their family and the way they lived. My mom, as she graduated from high school, went on and decided to move to San Francisco and met my father. And they had a brief marriage, but in the process of that marriage, had my sister and I, Lori and myself. My mom also had the privilege and honor of meeting the Gladys family, and the second family that sort of took her in and acknowledged her strengths and acknowledged her for being a strong, spunky, spirited person. She connected with the Gladys women. They respected her strength and fierceness and willing to fight once in a while. And she was part of a group, Charlotte and Dee and Janice, and they commiserated together, they struggled together, they took care of each other and accepted each other in the face of occasional struggle and difficulty in the family. My mom was the last of those 4 of that group, and there's new Gladys coming along and new strong Gladys women coming along, but they really set the tone for that strength of the Gladys women and all of them, Charlotte and Dee and Janice, were just big parts of my mom's life. My mom worked in Chrysler Credit for most of her life and lived in San Mateo and then moved on to Foster City. But in the process of working at Chrysler Credit, she met a lot of just amazing, great people. Gail and Bob, Dick and Charlene, Rita and Jerry, Linda and Ketty Hunter, and many, many, many others. And they came into our lives at a time when my mom was living a divorced life with two pretty difficult kids. And they took us in and helped us and became part of a group that we spent a lot of time together and we had a lot of fun together. Did amazing things together, right? We just hung out together for decades. And it was a very warm time to have the Gladys family, to have the Vreelands, but also have this group of friends that respected my mom and loved my mom and helped her raise her kids, really. My mom then retired and moved from Foster City and moved to Benicia. And she would tell me frequently that she never exactly loved Foster City. She really found her peace and her serenity and her joy of life in Benicia. She would frequently tell me and look out over the marina and say, "Isn't this beautiful? Look at the boats. Look at the water. Look at the channel. Look at the Garquina Straits. Isn't it beautiful?" I go, "Yeah, Mom, it's beautiful. It's beautiful." And she really did start to slow down and become at peace and enjoy her life. She was getting older, but in a sense, she started getting younger. She started to become like a 5-year-old, curious, joyful, stopping and smelling the flowers, taking joy in the little things in the world that maybe she hadn't noticed before. And it was such, it was sort of sometimes a pain in the neck, but it was, now looking back on it, it was such a wonderful time for her to take such joy in the world around her. And I think Benicia brought her that sort of calmness and joy. And if we walked into a restaurant and there happened to be a couple of kids sitting next to us, she'd wave to them and wave to them and wave to them and wave to them. And if they even had a dog or a puppy, oh, forget it. We would basically just end up moving the tables. But she had such an affinity for children and pets, and it was just incredible. My mom and I went on a lot of trips together, and we, even as young children, my sister and I and my mom would take the train to Chinatown, and we'd go to Santa Cruz. But my mom and I continued to go on trips. We'd go to the World's Fair in Vancouver. We went to the Grand Canyon. My aunt and I and my mom went to Tijuana. My mom frequently came to visit me in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. She came to visit us in Israel. I think one of her great, great joys was coming to Thailand, though, and seeing the elephants. And there was a lot of photos of her with the elephants. She loved the fact that there were places, sanctuaries in Thailand, where people would go protect an area so elephants could live freely and without fear and without being tortured and without being taken advantage of or exploited. She loved that idea, and it just resonated with her. It touched her deeply that there was people that would go buy elephants and bring them there. And we followed the elephants around and farted around with them and followed them into the water, followed them around all over. And she absolutely loved it. She had a deep soul and a cared for many, many things. Other things that she cared for were the homeless, people that were hungry, people that had drug problems or people that had mental illness. And if we drove into the city, it wouldn't take long before she would be very, very uncomfortable and acknowledge deeply how uncomfortable and how sad it made her feel that there were so many unfortunate people. I went to a football game with my mom. It's got to be 38 years ago. We were sitting in Candlestick down the foldable bleachers, and it was hot. And she wanted some water, and I couldn't find any water for my mom, so I said, "Mom, you want to just drink some beer?" My mom was not a beer drinker, but she drank some. Well, that was the last drink she ever drank. It was 37 years ago. And she started connecting with people that also were in search of this sobriety, and she connected with people in San Mateo and Foster City and Belmont and Vallejo. And through these fellowships, she really found a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose. She helped people and people helped her. She read her readings every day. She went to meetings every day. Even during COVID, she attended meetings. One time, there was a picnic in Vallejo, and I was just talking to Debbie about this. And my mom loved to introduce me to people and drag me to meet people all over the place. And I finally had to sit down because my hip was getting tired. I just had a hip replacement. And I looked around and I realized there was a line of people waiting to talk to me. And they wanted to tell me what a great person my mom was. And they stood in line to say, "Your mom is great. Your mom has helped me. Your mom has done so much for all of us." And it was astonishing. The line went on, and I realized just what a purpose she had found and what meaning she had found in life. And it was wonderful. It was the day I'll truly never forget. There's lots of stories I could tell about my mom, and I would like to stop here and just say, I'd like to hear about your stories, and maybe you have some things that you want to share. We're going to be heading soon up to the burial area in Occidental. It's a long drive. I hope you can make it, but if you can't, we understand. My mom would say, "Oh, come forget about it. You're busy." Yeah. It's fine. You have a long day ahead of you. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You know, she never wanted anybody to make any big deal about her. But if you can come with us and survive the drive, we'll do the burial there, and then we have a meal planned in Santa Rosa, and we will finish the day there in Santa Rosa. Beautiful. Rabbi, how are we doing for time? Can we have a chance for anybody to talk? Okay, does anybody want to come just stand up and share a Valerie Gladys story? If not, you do. Oh.
Yes, I do. You go first, Becky. Beauty before age.
Thank you, my dear.
Hi, I'm Becky.
Hey, Becky.
I've known Valerie for 28 years. She was one of my very big, sorry about that's hard to talk, my very closest friend and ally. I'm one of the Foster City people, but living in Antioch right now, though. And Valerie and I were very close when she was living in Foster City, and we went out to dinner every single night because we went to meetings together every single night. I dragged her into all of my harebrained ideas, and she did likewise. I would go to the jail with her when she was working with women in the jail. helping them out. And we got into, I'm sorry I didn't get them to you, but I have some glorious pictures of her and I, well, mainly her in Hawaii when she was playing the ukulele. Never, I am gonna get you that one. I just found him on my computer, because my son moved him off my phone. But anyhow, Valerie, I was so close to Valerie, and I tried to get to see her over here. We never did get to Mexico together, because we kept planning it, and we never could. She was so dear to my heart. I love her so much, and I'm gonna miss her. But you know what? I'm so glad she's in Wyoming, and she's in a peaceful place. And I know, I'm not far behind her. Last couple weeks ago when I saw her, I thought, here I come with you, Valerie, it won't be long. Because I'm an old lady. Anyhow, thank you.
I love you guys. My name is Ann, and I met Valerie, it was in 2015, and she was just a bright light. And right after I met her, my mother died. And when Valerie came to my funeral, we walked out the door, and she grabbed a hold of me, and she said, I'm your mother now. And she introduced me to her whole family, and our whole family. I knew Pam from, back then, because we go to this secret program that we're not supposed to talk about. And she went to the Royal Fellowship. She loved the Royal Fellowship. The most people that you wouldn't hang out with. And Valerie hung out with them. Valerie, I'll never forget, there was this man that used to come in with a blanket, and he had weeds in his hair, and Valerie gave him a big old hug. And I think that's the first time that man was hugged. And that's what our fellowship is about. I mean, she hugged this man, and I'm like, oh no, I can't believe she hugged that man. I was hoping I could, run around for a while, And she hugged him, and the smile on his face, and he remembered her name. That's what Valerie was about. And when they went to Mexico, she goes, you can come stay at my house. It will be your summer house. She lived in this beautiful house, and she showed me it, She did the same thing to me that she did to Steve. Look at there's a boat coming in. Isn't that beautiful? Go look out. Go take your coffee and look outside. I'll go out there with my coffee. Go, no, nice. She goes, did you wait till it came in? And I go, no. Go out there and wait till it comes in, And we know Valerie, that was Valerie. And I just want to thank the family for allowing me to come in and hanging out with your mom and loving your mom. Because she loved you all. She'd be so happy too that you all were here, you don't know. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you for it.
My name is Alonzo. I met Valerie 2012. I was a young, ignorant person, thought I was grown already when I was not even learning how to be grown. She kind of took me under, she became my sobriety mother. She took me under her wing and she said, you're going to change. And I looked at her and I read it down and she was shorter than me and she I heard what I said, you're going to change. I'll see you at the nooner tomorrow. And ever since then, I kept going to the nooner. There was something about her. She was not only wise, she was competent in what she was doing, in her choices in life. And, my mother was going through some things and cancer had grabbed her. And I was about to throw in the towel while I was going, trying to get my towel, keep it dry. And Valerie walked me through the whole sequence. She did something for me that nobody but God could do. I'm here today because of Valerie. And I know I'll see her later because her voice is inside of me. I can hear her. I can hear everything that she will say. No matter what you might come up with, she's going to have a reply for you. And it's going to be the right one. She loved her son, she loved her daughter. She used to talk to me about them all the time. And as a matter of fact, I was one of those people in line that day. So, although it's despair right now, and you know, I haven't cried in a while, but I did cry this morning and kind of like holding it back right now. But these are tears of joy. Valerie told me to have tears of joy, to remember that weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is John.
Hi, John.
Motion. I believe within myself that mere words cannot express the feelings that I'm going through right now. A lot of people, first and foremost, my condolences to the family. That smile that I will always cherish. What I heard today is exactly the way Valerie is, no doubt at all. I heard earlier about bringing meetings to the women's jail in Redwood City. For those that do not know, I do H&I, which is hospitals and institutions for alcohol anonymous. We bring meetings into where people can't get to a meeting, and we bring the message of hope. When I first met Valerie, I can't recall what date it was. I know it was in the 2000s, and she goes, I heard you're the one that does H&I here. I said, yes, ma'am. Well, I like to go. I heard you go to Napa State Hospital. I said, yes, I do. So I took her up to Napa State Hospital, and she was overwhelmed. She goes, oh my God, John, I don't know if I want to go back.
Yep.
And I looked at her and I said, why not? And she goes, I don't know, it's overwhelming. She goes, sweetheart, it is overwhelming. Her favorite word was sweetheart. It was overwhelming. She calls me the next day. She goes, you know, sign me up. I want to go. I said, you got it. So what happened was that there's units right next to the main facility where these individuals are put there by the state. They're not criminals or nothing like that. So Valerie wanted a commitment there. And I believe she held that for a couple of years. Every Friday at 9:30 in the morning, or every second Friday, or something like that every morning, she'd drive up there. And she loved those people up there, especially the ones that suffer from mental illness, and not only mental illness, but drug addiction. She was a pioneer in H&I, in Alcoholics Anonymous. But what was so precious to me is that we went up to a meeting with her. And I told her, I said, I'm going through a lot of emotional problems because my hep C is getting worse. And she was, darling, what you need to do? I'll take you anywhere you need to go. If you have to go, I was going to San Francisco for treatment at Dr. J, I think Nita was telling me about. She goes, I'll take you there. She was, I'm behind you 100% on this, John. You're going to be okay. And she stood behind me through the whole treatment. And I got Purican, I got with her support behind me. You know, and I looked at her and I said, you know, I want to tell you something, Valerie. And she goes, what, sweetheart? I said, you know, how somebody comes into somebody's life after so many years. Now, folks, think about this. Somebody walks into your life and they remind you of somebody, your dear ones, your mom or your aunt. Valerie was just like that. She reminded me of my mom. And I looked at her and said, you know what? I'm adopting you. And she gave me the biggest hug. And she goes, I love that. I love to be your mom. And also, I was one of the persons in line that stood me. But she had a sense of humor.
yeah.
Boy, did she have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And sharp tongue at times. But you can see the kind, it was good for educational purposes. But she had the kindness in her heart. Steve.
That must have been one heck of a beer 37 years ago. Can you imagine how many lives would not have been changed if you had access to water?
Oh my God, how funny. Oh, that's funny.
Also, love the observation that she did for you what only God can do. Because I'll tell you something, that is what it is to be in partnership with God in the Jewish system.
That's right.
The key to connecting with God from our point of view is not how well you pray and how well you do your rituals. It's how much and how effectively you do and what you do for one another. That is why we're on the planet, but most people don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because people are all into a sense of, not all, but so many into scarcity. I don't have enough. I gotta worry about me. I gotta take care of myself. But every description that a few of you shared on behalf of pretty much everyone here is all about doing and giving without thought of return, without looking at what's in it for me. That is what we call mitzvah. So we're given a contract in life. And you don't have to be born into this system. She demonstrates it. In fact, she's not only a teacher effectively of the power of AA and people being there for one another, but she's also a teacher of Judaism by the way she lived and what she did in all of her ways, her kindness. We describe God in our system of being kind and caring and looking at how one can support one another, especially those who are more vulnerable. But it's more than the talking about the idea of what God can do, it's understanding that God needs to do it through us. That God is not in the Jewish system physical. God is spiritual. And God's involved in an amazing experiment which Valerie joined in a magnificent way, which is to see if you can bring into the physical realm the spirituality that is part of God's essence and eternity. We're only here for a little while. That contract that we enter into on day 8 when we're born into the system, it's a covenant, and it's an understanding in an ironic way. There's no promise about quantity of time. She did get 87 years, which isn't bad. We could have used another 23, but whatever. Because we're looking for 120 as the goal. I think that's the math. But there's no promise of that. The promise of the covenant is quality of life. If you choose to engage whatever gifts God gives you, we are each unique in that capacity. The unique attributes that we have. If you choose to tap into them and then use them to extend outward to bring those qualities and characteristics into the lives of others, then you are being a blessing to God. And in fact, you're involved in the pursuit of what we're supposed to be doing here in this world, which is to pursue shalom. Now, probably most of you know the word shalom, but it really doesn't mean hello, goodbye, or peace. What it means is wholeness. What it means is that everyone fits. That all of the parts and pieces of the world we know are designed to become a whole, a transcendent mosaic of the beauty of life. She understood it, whether consciously or innately. She knew it, and she gave it in all those ways. Our Torah, the beginning of the book of Genesis, is about creation of life, and it is represented in a singular capacity of Adam and Eve. That is to teach that every single person is a world. So when you save the life or help one in one particular way, you are helping a world unto itself. And especially you can inspire others to be that kind of a force for good. What she also accomplished is really the meaning of life from the Jewish point of view, which is not all that complicated. Make this moment kadosh. Oh, you guys might not know much Hebrew beyond shalom. All right, let's work on kadosh. The problem with Hebrew and English is that they're incompatible languages. They don't just go in different directions, as is reminded to us in the song in My Fair Lady. It is also the fact that Hebrew is a visual language. English tends to be literal. A picture is worth 1,000 words in English. In Hebrew, a word is worth many pictures. Now I say that because the meaning of life is to make this moment kadosh. So here's the words in English I need to catch that. And as I describe them, you can visualize how Valerie lived it. Kadosh is what is special. It's what's unique. It's what's memorable. It's what's treasurable. It is what is transcendent. It is what is excellent. It is what is significant. And oh yes, in all of that, it's holy and it is sacred. That the purpose in life is to make this moment as precious as you possibly can, each and every moment that you can. And she did that by the fact that she was there for you. She was there for anybody who was vulnerable. She was there also in terms of nurturing family, a relationship with family. Her relationship with Laurie, especially continuing and persisting through the later times they shared, was a precious sense of shalom, of coming together, of a wholeness that doesn't just happen automatically. It happens through a process of working at it. I love the mention of the hugging, because the Hebrew word for Israel, Yisrael, is to wrestle with God. Wrestling not in an oppositional way, but wrestling in an appositional, where you are working with each other. In other words, wrestling that becomes a hug because of the fact that you're aligned together and you're working with one another. So she kind of modeled being a Yisrael in everything that she did. But speaking of everything that she did, she had another characteristic that maybe she grew stronger in as she got older. But she understood the preciousness of being childlike, not childish. Childish can lead to isolation, insulation, and I'm worried about me. Because that's what we learn from the little ones until they learn with one another how to extend that to one another. She was childlike. To be childlike is to be open to that presence of God and to see it in one another and to realize the opportunity that one has in any given moment to change your life and the life of anybody else you're interacting with, how you're engaging with. She filled the day with what was kadosh through her mitzvah, through her, again, mitzvah is another word. Jews often say mitzvah means a good deed. Sounds a little too voluntary to me. A mitzvah is accepting responsibility, engaging it, and understanding the authority that empowers you to live it. She got that. She intuited it. And when she joined the Gladys family, she became a force for good.